Welcome to Fintech Daydreaming, the podcast that dives into the world of banking technologies and the ever-changing landscape of fintech companies. We bring you real-life examples from global and local thought leaders, as well as experts working within the financial industry, and seek out the best stories from the front lines of financial services innovation, where dreams of industry pioneers meet reality. Hosted by Paul Krogdahl and Ville. This is Fintech Daydreaming.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of
Fintech Daydreaming.
And this time we are live from
Nordic Banking Forum,
which is being hosted here in
Helsinki.
And Helsinki, for those of you who don't know, happens to be in
Finland, Europe, planet Earth. So
planet Earth, exactly. We are on planet Earth. And as always, this is
Ville Sointo.
And I am Paul Krogdahl, and we're going to be your hosts for yet another episode of Fintech Daydreaming. And as Ville said, we are here at the Nordic Banking Forum. And as is always the case when we do these live events, we're going to have wonderful discussions with thought leaders, bankers, fintechers, and anyone else that we can find smooching around in the corridors and on the stands and giving their fantastic keynote presentations. I'm excited for this again.
Yeah, I feel dizzy with that intro, with all the back and forth, so I'm still buzzing in my head. But anyway, I think it worked out okay. It's going to be a fun event today. There's going to be the difference between Nordic Banking Forum and many of the other fintech events that we've done is that we have kind of more high-level speakers here. We literally have people talking about global policy, geopolitics, macroeconomics, not only the usual fintech stuff. It's great, of course, but it's also interesting to do a bit of a broader perspective into things. So let's see how many of those keynote speakers we're able to drag into our studio here. I think at least a few.
I was watching the event kickoff keynote because we had a couple of minutes whilst we were waiting for this room to be set up, and the gentleman, I almost had like a bingo card to look at how many times he mentioned the name of a certain president as he was talking about geopolitical situation. I'm wondering whether we're going to have to sort of like caveat our episode at the end that says, bad language, geopolitical discussions, and warning names of certain presidents. I mean, he took both the one on that side and the one on that side. I'm not going to mention names here, but they're both interesting characters.
Okay, so disclaimer, you might be triggered listening to this episode, but there we are.
Exactly.
We'll see how it goes. Again, this is the first thing that we're doing in the morning, and we're going to have a close-up session or close-up discussion at the end of it, and let's see where we land. It's going to be fun.
It is, yes. And you might notice as you're watching through this episode, we have, as always is with Janne, we love the guy, but this room we were told was going to be our room for the whole of today, but it turns out it's not. So you will notice that our backdrop and some of the lighting and stuff might change halfway through the day, and that's because we had to do an emergency room swap. But apart from that, the content, the discussions are going to be as good as always. Always. So I think with that, let's start running around corridors and finding interesting people to talk to.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome back. We are still here at the Nordic Banking Forum and we have our first guest for this episode. So welcome to the podcast. Please tell our audience, who are you, what do you do, and why are you here?
My name's Prag Sharma, or some might say Dr. Prag Sharma. I lead Citi's Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence. Until recently, the aim of the Center of Excellence was to use AI responsibly across the entirety of the organization. We have successfully done that for generative AI, and we consider it business as usual. It is being used right across the organization. Since then, I've transitioned into a new role into the future of finance, which, as it sounds, is very exciting. It's about predicting future trends in financial services, an area I particularly like. I'm deep into machine learning and AI. I have a PhD in it, so that's my passion. But more generally, more technologies are coming through. Quantum is a good example, and its overlap with AI. And the other hot topic, digital ledger technologies.
I think we're going to dive deep into futurism here and future technologies and trends and unpack that. But I've got one quick question around the AI. I mean, you said you sort of moved on, but in that role, was the focus predominantly on the use of AI within the bank to support the bank workers and the bank processes, or was it against, externally towards the customers? One of the things that we repeatedly hear about is almost this fake AI where everybody's just talking about chatbots and it's really not where the value is and people are misunderstanding. So from your perspective?
Look, as all banks or financial institutions, the client is very much at the center of what we do. Okay, so ultimately it has to benefit the client. And artificial intelligence is one of those technologies that has a broad usage. And one of the ways you can benefit the client is one, by process efficiencies in-house, but also by exposing some of the technology directly to the client. And that's where chatbots come in. Now, I know you just mentioned, listen, you think chatbots are not really where it's at, but actually it's a good way to interact with your clients. The value comes not just from the chatbot, but from what data you expose to the chatbot, what its capabilities are, and so on. Certainly a use case. I wouldn't throw it away. Another point to note is chatbots to date have been not great. Okay, I think that's some of the reasons people might think of chatbots and say this is technology that has been and gone. Okay, we need something more. But the truth is, until now, the technology had not evolved to a state where it could be genuinely useful. Here's a stat to take away: 80% of our data is unstructured. Mm-hmm. What we are doing now is adding to that 80 or 90%. This is unstructured content. Not that you guys haven't structured the content, but the audio itself, I'm sure you have. But the audio itself is unstructured data. And until a few months ago, you could do nothing with this data. Literally, you could transcribe it, and it would be poorly done. You could do keyword searches, that would be poor. That doesn't capture the intent. In the last couple of years, the technology has come to a point where unstructured data is genuinely useful from a computer perspective to analyze. Now, if that isn't wow, I don't know what is, sir. The world is moving at pace because 80-90% of financial services data, or any data, is now in play. You can do amazing things with it, and hence the excitement in AI. Stick with the chatbots. They're coming for you, and they are going to be helpful to you.
Indeed. Funny, by the way, you said, I can't do anything with this data. That was the exact feedback we got from our listeners one time, but that's another story. But anyway.
They can do something with it now. Doesn't have to chat to me about it. They can analyze anything they like from this podcast later using some AI tools.
Exactly.
That's the Fintech Daydreaming chatbot about to get launched.
Yes, exactly.
Powered by Citi Bank.
So
we're launching it right now, right here.
We are literally the AI use case. But back to the point. So again, you mentioned a lot of interesting things you're working on, and we could kind of go very deep on many of those things, and I do want to do that at some time at least. But you're going to be on stage quite soon, so you're one of the keynote speakers here at the event, and I guess you'll be talking about everything you just talked about, but anything specific you want to mention about your keynote? Yeah,
I mean, look, 2025 has been super exciting. If you're a technologist like I've been, no one has paid you more attention than just now, because technology really is coming to the forefront, okay? Technology is what is driving financial services into the next phase of innovation. We're moving into a phase where technology can drive changes so fast that you can really have a competitive edge if you can do it correctly. It's not a given. Not everyone's going to benefit from it directly. So one of the things I'm going to cover today is the concept of agentic AI, a term. If you were talking here last year, I would say agentic AI, and you'd say, listen, we have no idea what you're saying, move on, let's talk about something more interesting. But actually, agentic AI is the hottest topic for 2026, and this is what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about 2025, people, organizations, individuals, chatbots, companies. We have all been using generative AI. Proof of concepts abound. People have been trying to implement it across the board. It's time for value generation. It's time for production releases. And I will be discussing how agentic AI is likely to do that for us in 2026. We'll talk a bit about the landscape. I have a particular slide. If you're at the event, I hope you're listening in. If you are, there's a slide that shows the landscape of AI generation with startups. It is so small, you can't read it even if you go up to it. It is a huge space, lots of activity going on. How to pick the right use case with the right technology is no easy task, and I'll try and talk about that as well. And of course, we should always talk about the risks. We get blown away by the applications, the hype, but really at the end of the day, it's a technology. You have to deploy it.
Yeah.
And that requires skill sets that go beyond the hype. And I'll try and mention how we should be cautious with some of these use cases. Not all use cases were born equal, and not all use cases are automatically amenable to generative AI.
So that's actually a good follow-on question. What do you see as being the killer use cases for next year with generative AI?
You'll have to pay me for me to really tell you what I'm thinking about startups here. The killer app. Where should we make our next gazillion?
Yes.
But actually, the use case that has really shown value is developer productivity. And now please don't yawn at this. I know, programming, developer productivity, for most people it's like, listen, nothing to do with me. But actually, it has shown a lot of value. And these are the use cases that are going into production. Generative AI type chatbots, or co-pilots is a better term potentially in the space. Co-pilots are helping our developers in Citi really accelerate the development of applications. So something that could have taken much longer is now being done at a much faster pace, often to a much better standard as well, and faster. So that's really the killer app for this with generative AI, and has been in 2025. 2026, we will start to look at how agents may be able to help in that. What does that mean? Well, today what happens is, traditionally if you're a developer, if you've ever developed, you'd start writing some code. You would then go to YouTube maybe to look up somebody's video who says, listen, this is how you should be breaking down this problem. If you didn't find anything there, you'd go to GitHub or Bitbucket, try to look up some existing code. You'd go to Stack Overflow, okay? Eventually you'd be writing some code. Actually, all that information is now available when you type. Today's models fill in that text for you. Wow, that's amazing. But we can go further with agentic AI. Agentic AI means simply generative AI plus actions. That's all it means, right? Yeah. And the action means you can now write test scripts. You can write unit testing. You can write documents for supporting the business requirements, the technical requirements, the functional requirements, the validation documents. All of this can be done, stuck together so that the human comes at the end of that process. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's a killer app.
I was at Fintech Connect event earlier this week in London, and there was a person on stage who said that in the next 5 years he's predicting that 70% of all the customer interactions for banks will be for AI agents instead of humans. What do you think about a prediction like that?
So firstly, anybody making predictions in 5 years from now
is
wrong already, or they are overconfident, and I'm sure this person knows what they're talking about, okay? But the point I'm trying to make is it's very hard to make predictions for next year. If you go back, like I said, last year and try to talk about what we'd be discussing this year, we'd have no idea. But even so, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'll even go further, okay? But let's go with that first. Why will that be the case? The technology is evolving to a point where interactions have become natural. The large language models, if you have tried some of the big players today, they feel perfectly natural. They all pass the Turing test. Okay, so they are getting there. That's the first thing. So they're becoming natural. You can talk to them. You can interrupt them. Okay, that was one of my biggest problems was you can't interrupt. If they're talking, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to this. Listen, you're going down the wrong. You can interrupt them. They can pick up your conversation. So they're definitely becoming better. The point is, we can get there if they have access to our data. Mm-hmm. This is the blocker. I need my personal data to be available to that chatbot so that they can really support me. They understand me. And that is beginning to happen with a number of things. The models are getting smaller, faster, the hardware is improving, so models should run on your phone. Mm-hmm. If they run on your phone, hopefully they have access to your data without having to share too much of it outside, and then you're more comfortable with using them. So that's a scenario, and I agree with them. I wanted to go further by saying that the differentiator is not that each financial service has a chatbot that you can interact with that's super smart. It is, what is the personality of that chatbot? Does it align with your personality, quote unquote? Does it speak? Does it have the same ethos as you? Does it understand you? So I think the future is very much going to be your avatar's personality, your bank's personality in the form of an interaction, whether that's a physical model or just the tone or the chat. And this is how we'll start to distinguish ourselves for different clients. Now, both of you look like you're not buying any of this. But what I'm trying to say is, this is the future. Maybe even before those 5 years.
I'm buying it. I mean, there is an awful lot of discussion and perspectives that say that as we are moving more and more towards agentic AI, agentic banking, the notion of existing primary channels will disappear.
Yes.
And we will end up focusing on supporting banking through agents. That actually means that the bank, to a certain degree, has to let go, because the consumer will have their agents.
Yes.
And it becomes an agent-driven interaction, very much back to, you can interrupt and everything else. How does Citi look at a future where the consumer potentially sees their window into their financial world being through a chatbot, and therefore divorced from the Citi interface, even though Citi's sitting at the background? How does Citi look at that going forward?
Great. Look, I think what you're also pointing to is agent-to-agent interaction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the idea is one agent talks to another agent. But for us, we want to be part of that. We want our agents to reflect our personality, to reflect what we stand for as an organization, and to engage with our clients' agents. Somewhere along the agent to agent, there is a human, okay? It's not all in the ether. We are not necessarily in the matrix. Okay? Some of this stuff we have to experience ultimately. So even if agents are intermediating these conversations, we want those agents to reflect what we do, our data and otherwise, and then eventually the client has to get a benefit out of this. So for us, it's not a technology that's taking away if done correctly. I think there is space here for agents for some tasks, or the mundane tasks. Tell me my account balance, do X, can you give me a prediction on what I might spend this week? Sounds hard, at least for me. Please ask my wife. But more generally, the point is, some of these questions can be answered, but for others, you need that human. So it's not all, it's not a one or the other. It's going to be a mix. Clearly, most of the flows may go to an agent. We actually don't even know that. We don't know what that mix is going to be. Yeah?
Exactly.
You're agreeing with me this time?
I agree all the time.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's part of the job.
But
do you really agree?
We are daydreamers here in this podcast.
Yeah.
So
I am daydreaming with you guys.
Yes, you are daydreaming
absolutely.
with us. Yes.
Indeed. And with that being said, we could continue this for hours. I really wanted to deep dive into many of these topics, but we do have to round it up. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about or mention before we let you go?
Yeah, come to the talk.
Yes.
No, I mean above that.
Yeah.
Listen, 2026 is going to be super exciting.
Yeah.
Don't sit it out. Get stuck in the technology. Do not listen to other people. Okay, get your hands dirty with the tech. This tech is free to use. You have no excuse. The latest AI models from the largest providers are free to use. Are you using them? Are you getting your hands dirty? Get that experience, bring it to your workplace, change the workplace, become that AI champion in that workplace for both personal gain and promotions, but also to help your financial services institution, the industry, and more generally, go with the flow.
Yeah. There's a fantastic quote, and I can't quite remember who it is that came out.
Probably me. It was probably
it was definitely you, but
from-
it was AI is not going to take your job. The people
Yes.
using AI are going to take
Correct.
your job.
And this is a quote actually now a few years old already.
Yeah.
So this is not even from 2025. One of the first people when ChatGPT came out was, the AI programmers or developers are going to be taking your job, which I completely agree with.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
you.
much. Yeah.
Okay, so as we said, we are here for a special live episode of Fintech Daydreaming at the Nordic Banking Forum. But we want to keep some of you active listeners up to date and follow the normal flow. This normally would have been an episode of
Nordic Fintech highlights.
I'm glad that you're awake, young man. That took some time. But yes, so it would normally have been an episode of
Nordic Fintech highlights.
He's not really getting it, is he? We were doing so much better at the start. We need to educate this guy. But for those of you out there, you know, this is Janne. This is our buddy from
Nordic Fintech highlights.
Working at
Fintech Farm.
God, we need to educate you. But yes, from Fintech Farm. And so what we thought we would do is double up on this. We will have a very quick chat with you because, I mean, you're responsible for all of this. Yeah. Which tends to be the case. But also let's do a quick look at the news headlines from November.
Yeah.
But starting from, and we're not going to make you do a joke because I don't suppose you've got one lined up, have you? No.
No, sorry.
No joke this time. But very quickly, let's start with this event. I mean, this is the second time. It's the second time we're doing this live, right?
Yes.
For you guys as part of our partnership.
Yeah.
How has the preparations been this time compared to all the others?
Well, busy as always, but I think on the partnership side, there were a lot of companies who wanted to partner this year more than ever, and there was a clear theme that a lot of companies, almost everyone, wanted to talk about fraud prevention and AI. That's clearly, like you could see, like a couple of years ago, it was more about core banking, cloud banking, then also on the open finance, open banking infrastructure, but now we can see definitely AI. Everyone wants to be an AI expert and make money out of it.
We are. Fintech Daydreaming are AI experts, aren't we, Ville?
Yeah, we are. We established that in the last interview. So again, we are. We are actually a use case for AI.
Yes.
Yeah,
we are. Okay, what has been the got you? I mean, everybody likes a horror story, right? So in the preparation, getting up to all of this, what has been your worst moment?
Nothing too bad, but I think it's always the same. Like a couple of months before the event, you're like, is anyone going to show up? Why isn't anyone signing up? And then during the last weeks, you're like, oh shit, are we going to all fit in? Every time the same thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, what we've seen so far was good. The opening keynote, very interesting. A lot of geopolitical stuff, presidents here and presidents there being mentioned and everything else. So I think we're into interesting times for the next 12 months, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's an interesting week. I think like there might be a historical decision coming out, any morning when you wake up. So it's really interesting times, and these decisions, of course, affect the entire economy and banking industry and so on.
Absolutely. So Nordic Fintech highlights. Do you want to give us a quick summary of what happened, what was up, what was down, what was interesting for the month of November?
Yeah, sure. So we just wrapped up November. Bit quieter month than the previous 2 months, but still a few quite interesting things. So especially on the funding side, there were 3 funding rounds in Denmark, and the great thing is that we have one new Nordic Fintech unicorn. So FlatPay raised, I think, $170 million with 1.7 billion valuation. So there's a new unicorn in the club.
Nice.
But besides that, bunch of partnership news and launches. Vipps Mobile Pay is quite active, so now they're bringing the tap to pay into their arsenal. So obviously going to combat the Google Pay, Apple Pay area, and then they're also joining the alliance of the European instant payment scheme, or how does it work? But they promoted and demonstrated at Webflow also in November. So quite many interesting things going on, especially on the payment side.
Especially on the
and
payment side.
all linked to also geopolitics. For example, all the interoperability exercise that Vipps Mobile Pay is doing now together with the EuroPA and EMPSA. All of that is related to the European resiliency and strategic autonomy. It all plays together. So again, the theme of this event, especially with the morning keynote, was geopolitics and how that affects banking and financial services. And even the news now seem to be linked to a lot of those things.
Yeah, it was interesting this morning in the keynote where he talked about the erosion of trust between the major regions of the world, and how you're seeing a lot of large organizations in Europe favoring using partners and vendors in Europe rather than traditionally going to the US vendors, for instance. So it is all shifting, and maybe we saw that reflected in the November news as well. Yeah. What is sort of from your perspective the main theme then that you're seeing from today? Is it really AI?
Well, yeah, AI, which is a good thing. I think there's not so many how would I say, standalone AI presentations. Maybe like Prag is speaking about agentic AI, but luckily there's a lot of things brought into the context of something like AI in risk management or fraud prevention or things like that. So it's of course good to have practical use cases. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a banned word from this episode, so there's one that we're going to make sure does not get mentioned through this, and I'm very glad to see that it's not a key topic on the event today. So, Janne, thank you for setting up another cool, great event and inviting us as your podcast partners to come here and record all of this.
Yeah.
We're going to have some good discussions.
Yeah, and remember all the listeners that next spring when we have the Fintech Summit, so we will have a Nordic Fintech highlight stage where we bring the highlights.
We will.
That is
event.
true. We're going to do a live episode on stage, the three of us, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be rock.
We're going to need beer for that.
We're going to need beer for that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, let's go mingle.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Welcome back. And as always, we run into old friends, new friends, and good friends like we have next to us right now. So please tell the audience, who are you? What are you doing here?
I am Sampsa Laine, CEO of Alisa Bank.
Perfect. Good to have you back on the podcast. We had a lot of good feedback from our interview with you earlier. Was it this year or last year? I think it was this year.
I think Samsa's actually been a repeated guest, probably the one that's been on our podcast the most. So he's part of the furniture now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And always good stuff to bring. But we are here at the Nordic Banking Forum, and we've run into you many years in this event. So what brings you to this event this year?
I think the event itself is really going into the right direction. We have more and more international audience here, more and more relevant tech people here. And it was perhaps more kind of a event for bankers with bankers, but now it's more tech people and bankers. So it's really going into the right direction.
One of the things that moving away from the event to a certain degree and more back to Alisa Bank, particularly when we do the Nordic Fintech highlights, Alisa Bank tends to come up repeatedly. And you guys are doing so much. You're driving your new strategy. You're becoming the poster child for embedded finance in the Nordics. There is so much going on. Do you want to give like a quick highlight of the new Alisa Bank?
Yeah, we are truly focusing on SME finance, SME services, but we are doing that with our partners. And we are so proud to have truly great partners like Nordea, like ProCounter, Finago there, and there will be a few more going forward. Hope to release them as soon as possible, but also to see that customers are finding it. We have very good attraction when it comes to our new account product, our new business card product, and also our lending financing products. But then at the same time, we still have the legacy to get rid of. So the task is to keep the machine running, keep the sales going and going faster, but also to get still rid of a lot of the stuff we still want to get rid of, and also get rid of out of the balance sheet, not only stop selling it. And that's the challenge for this year.
I hear rumors there's going to be a new book released next year that covers exactly that. So keep our eyes open on that. But yeah, embedded finance, that's really where you're pushing your strategy.
Yeah,
embedded finance and SME. It's felt like, particularly in the Nordics with the Nordic banks, they've been slow in adopting and grabbing the opportunity around embedded finance. What made Alisa Bank sort of spearhead that?
I would say it was the positive feedback we had with the accounting software side of things, and a lot of SMEs use that front end even more as they use the banking front end. So that was the natural place to start. But now what we are seeing with Nordea in particular is that they are truly changing their gear and starting to adopt more partners like us, other people also, obviously also, and they are. I would say they are leading the game at the moment in SME space at least, and I'm so, as an ex-Nordea person, also very happy to see that change finally happening and that change being driven by people like them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying anything about Nordea.
Yeah, you can't.
For obvious reasons, but happy to hear, of course, that this cooperation has happened. Now, one of the things that Alisa also did since we last talked was that you made a really strong and clear pivot towards focusing on SME.
Yeah.
So, I mean, can you speak to what was behind that decision?
It's basically numbers. It was a very, very simple, straightforward numbers exercise to decide that this is the area where we seem to be making the best, first of all, best customer satisfaction, best profitability, and also there's less competition than, for example, in consumer finance. And there's a lot of us who are kind of from background or entrepreneurs or corporate serving people like myself. So it was also to some extent also the sort of love of the game kind of thing. So we wanted to be there, and we are happy that we have been so well received, and a lot of people are taking us more seriously than people typically take our sized bank.
Mm-hmm.
So banks, most people sitting in the retail space, so not the SME or corporate space, always say bank mortgages. You guys have strategically decided not to do mortgages. Are we going to see Alisa Bank mortgages in the future, or have you decided absolutely not?
Nothing is absolutely no, but it all comes down to the same way of calculating things and assessing it based on numbers. And at the moment, our numbers don't indicate we go there. But we also have seen a lot of changes in different businesses, so the numbers will change, and the tech will change, how to provide it. And one day it can be that we are there. That day is not next year, it's not 27, but beyond that I don't have any estimates.
I think that's probably a good way of keeping your focus. I mean, anything more than 2 years, no one knows what's going to happen with the geopolitical situation and the changes in technology and everything else. We might not be us in 2 years' time.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And speaking of keeping focus, we need to wrap up here, of course. You are busy, we are busy, and we want to get more guests on the podcast as well. Is there anything you wanted to mention before we close?
I just hope that we will get more people, not only in Finland but Nordics, who have not only focus but who are more in a collaborative mode. And we have been lucky to have these kind of partners supporting our track, and it has been part of why things have gone well, that we have had so good partners. But I just hope that this fintech community will be more and more partnering, not just driving their own as such focused case. So that is perhaps my last message.
Couldn't agree more. I think in the Nordics we have shown in the past we can work together really well when we really put our minds to it. So perhaps this new geopolitical situation is bringing that back a little bit. I felt like we lost it for a while. But,
yeah, if this doesn't, then what would?
Exactly.
Let's just not mention P27 then.
No, but that was a bad.
Who is he?
Who was that? Who was that?
Blank stare. Anyway, thank you for coming on podcast again, and good to see you, and hope to see you soon again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hello, fantastic listeners. We are back again with another guest, and as seems to be the trend now for this episode, we're focusing in on the bankers rather than the vendors and the fintechs, because we think the bankers bring a lot more interesting conversation points rather than just product. Look at our latest new fantastic AI thing. And with that, one of the banks that is really interesting here in Finland is S-Pankki, and where S-Pankki sort of have come from, etc. But please, for those who don't know you, do you just want to introduce yourself, your name, and what you do at S-Pankki?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. So my name is Riikka Laine-Tolonen, and I am CEO of S-Bank.
Look at that. We bring you the best of the best, CEO of S-Bank, and I think that's fantastic.
So now we have 2 CEOs already on this episode, so we'll see how many do we get in the end.
Absolutely, yes.
I don't know if CIOs are any better, but most likely we have the most responsibility.
You do indeed. Now, S-Bank is one of the big banks in Finland, and I think everybody, as Ville makes a joke out of, everybody knows S-Bank because it's connected to one of the major retailers in Finland as well.
Yeah.
Sort of partly that's where your history comes from. Do you want to just quickly take us through that journey?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that we are a big bank. We have a very large customer base, 3.4 million Finns. However, we are fourth largest for private customers in this market, but we are challengers and growing faster than the market. Our journey actually started 18 years ago, so we are a teenager, and the bank was founded by S-Group corporates, as you mentioned, and that was quite a big decision. The legislation changed, and the former way of receiving deposits from corporate members, that was ended. And it was a very bold decision to establish a bank. And in 18 years, we have been growing, by, of course, organically, but also non-organically. There have been several decisions to acquire business and capabilities, and then, of course, do some deselection. The latest what we are known about is that we bought Handelsbanken Private Customer Wealth Management and Investment Services in Finland, and that was finalized a year ago, last
Congratulations.
year. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But the interesting thing here is, as we said, the green card, your initial consumer group of retail banking customers came from the loyalty card of the S-Group retail.
And it still today comes. So we are offering banking services, of course, for all Finns, but mainly for corporate members. Yeah. And actually, when you become a corporate member, an account is opened in S-Bank, and then you can use your cashback and bonuses with that green card. And actually, we have today quite many Finns using that as etukortti, green card, also widely for payments, not only when they shop in S-Group.
Yeah, I think you said 3.4 million customers in Finland. So again, I think both me and Paul are one of those customers because
absolutely.
We came in as an S loyalty card holder. It's a fantastic cashback program for whenever you're buying anything in the S-Group. And at least I do all sorts of fun things. So the cashback you can auto invest in funds and other investment products. And I always joke that it's my actual pension plan is to use my S bonuses to pay for my living when I move to the Mediterranean in the end. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting concept combining retail kind of this loyalty and then banking. We have seen things like this around the world as well. So everybody knows the Tesco story in the UK. Did it go as well, I think, as your journey seems to be going? Anything you can compare yourself with the Tesco journey? What are you doing differently?
I actually think that we are one of those who have been making this in a successful way. Yes. I mean, combining retail and banking. And I think that the core is that the owner really sees S-Group, sees us as a growth area. We are very strategic investment for them, and we are fully integrated in an easy and convenient way. And the core is actually mobile. Our S-Mobile app, actually it combines both retail and banking, and the proof point is actually we have 1.5 million unique users weekly in that app, and there you can kind of find your benefits from retail, but you can also do your banking, and you can see your bonuses, and you can start saving, do micro savings. Yes. So I mean, I think it's very much that we are, but of course it's about what kind of a risk management we do, what kind of a risk we take, for instance, in lending. But it is the integration and really commitment from the owner.
We had Sampsa from Alisa Bank.
I know Sampsa. He's my former colleague.
And spoke to him quickly and posed the question, when you look at retail customers, when they think of banks, they always think bank, mortgage. Right? And we asked Sampsa, when are you going to have a mortgage? An interesting answer.
Most likely never.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
What about S-Bank?
We have mortgages.
Yes?
Yeah, we are. We have 6% market share in the on mortgages, 8% in deposits, 15% of international card payments in Finland. So we are already a considerable bank in the market. And what is also important that when actually the corporate members consider if they would take a housing loan, 48% of them consider us. So we have an opportunity to win even more banking from our customers.
I see a good one here. Pay off your mortgage with your loyalty points when you go shopping in S-Market. I like that.
I don't know how you make that work. Maybe with very large income.
It was fantastic to have you join us here on the episode of Fintech Daydreaming.
Thank you.
Maybe we could
convince
you to join us for a full episode at some point in time to have a deeper discussion
that's
around.
Not difficult. I will come.
Oh, wonderful! We like that. That sounds fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Welcome back again. We have an unbelievable streak going on here because we are turning into a proper C-level podcast, but not only any C-level podcast, bank CEO podcast. With that being said, please tell our audience, who are we joined now with?
Hey everybody, my name is Jarkko Mäensuk. I'm the CEO of Saldo Bank. Currently, actually, correct title is president, to be fair. But you know that aside, so we are actually a fairly new bank, launched in 23. Currently operating in 4 geographies and expanding further at the moment, serving consumers and SMEs.
Great.
Which geographies, just for clarity?
So Baltics, Nordics, and recently Germany.
Germany. Why Germany?
Why Germany? Why not Germany?
It's big.
No, actually, it's for our embedded proposal, rather that we go for Germany. There is a very clear niche that we saw in Germany, that the regulation is different than, for example, the Nordics. And for us, who are a tech-based bank, there is actually a potential for us to partner up with the local banks or fintechs to be on the embedded side, fueling the access to credit, which is all of our mission. So our mission is not payments or anything like that. Our mission is access to credit. And that we can actually do, instead of doing only directly, we can do indirectly by offering solutions that the fintechs or banks may need, whether it's on tech, regulatory, funding, whatever that may be.
So a strong strategy around embedded finance and embedded banking.
We have 3 pillars. One is consumers, one is SME, and one is embedded. So absolutely.
And where do you see your strategic future being out of those 3? Which one is the one that you would focus on the most?
I mean, I would love to say it's embedded, but being a bank, you have a lot of costs, right? So in that sense, we've always, when we founded the bank and since when we launched in 23, we've made it very clear that we want to be sustainable. That is why we started with a direct proposal to consumers. Then we used that money that we are earning now from consumers to develop our SME proposal, which we've done during 25. And now we're using consumer and SME giving us, making us to go above break even. Now we're investing that to the further technology to be able to enable the embedded solution in the end, because I know there are banks who are saying, I'll only do embedded and BaaS. Great, doesn't work for my investors though. They want to see also return on equity. Yeah. And in embedded, the time for that is longer than in your direct. So we're going to try and do all of these that I just mentioned. So doing direct and then doing embedded. And in the future, I do see that if we're successful, if our tech plays out as we envisage, embedded could be a very strong part of the company, but I don't see us moving 100% into embedded because we are quite good.
And I mean, obviously, as mentioned already, you're a fully licensed bank, you are able to give out credit. And we asked the same question from the 2 previous guests here as well. What about mortgages?
I mean, I see mortgages as something on embedded that we'd probably do because in mortgages, the development is probably going to happen, right? It's going to go more digital. It already has. And when that does, there may be areas where we can do an embedded play. I don't see us competing against OP and Nordea in mortgages, right? It's not, you need to be stacked up to do that. We're not that, right? We are a bit more than 80 people, right? Yeah. So mortgages, therefore, is today not something that we would have in our strategy. But in the future, as we've grown as a company, we've got a bit more scale. it could be something that we either partner up or we would consider finding an angle to do mortgages in a different way, so to say.
You've got an advantage, just like all of the other digitally native banks, over the Orpes and the Nordeas. Your cost of acquisition is so much lower. So to acquire a new customer and to get them onto a mortgage, it's a fraction of the cost that it is for the traditional legacy banks.
Not quite, I would say, because the cost of acquisition for the channels is one thing and for your onboarding, but you do have still the sort of fixed costs that come from what you need to do to issue a mortgage, right? From the evaluation of the property, that's a very manual process still today and so on. I know there are companies who say they do it digitally, but that's not today what regulator approves, right? So, I mean, when you add all that in, it's still something that, in my view, you need a lot of volume, which I don't have the sort of stack of funds today to say, okay, I'm going to do mortgages because I'm going to do 2 billion of them or 5 billion of them, right? And if I had that kind of volume play to be possible, yes, I would consider mortgages. Today, I don't have that.
But I think we should step out of mortgages. There's more interesting things that you're doing at Sampsa Bank. So we went into a bit of a rabbit hole there, right?
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other regions that you see coming as an expansion?
Yeah, so we are adding another country in Europe during 26 in Central Europe.
Yeah.
Again, starting from embedded and then seeing if that plays out to be a direct in the future. But right now, it's going to start from embedded.
Yeah, and we were running around the event just now, and we saw some interesting companies, interesting banks, including Revolut and Monzo being present here in the event. So it just occurred to me, you are now the third banker here on today's episode. But how do you see the competitive landscape? I mean, the Revolut is making a big place now in the Nordics. They're hiring people here in the Nordics. So obviously they're going to do something. Don't know about Monzo, but there's a lot of interesting banks coming into the region. How do you see yourself in this picture?
Very good question. I mean, Revolut, again, great job, right? But everybody's telling me, so you're going to be the new Revolut. I'm like, I couldn't be further away from that. You know, the strategy of Revolut is completely different than ours, right? Ours is access to credit, which has never been Revolut's strategy, right? So Revolut, I see doing a fantastic job, challenging the big banks, doing exactly what I still, by the way, prefer the term challenger bank over neobank, because if you have a new bank, they need to find a way to challenge the big banks. Well, Revolut has done exactly that, so kudos. Monzo, then again, is closer to our strategy. So I've talked to Hannah actually now a few times. I've met him in different conferences. They are doing EU expansion with SME as the spearhead, not forgetting consumers. So their strategy is actually very much similar to ours. They're not so much prone to embedded yet, as of my knowledge, but I see Monzo as a quite strong competition on the sort of field that we're trying to do. And it sort of brings into the same as we've been doing all the time. We need to find our own niche in every segment. And in Finland, for example, that is that we do loans which are lower in amounts than big banks would do. And therefore, we have a different niche. And we can play in that niche, and we have different competition. We don't need to compete so much with big banks. Yes, partly, but not fully. And Monzo, or the other ones that are coming, very interesting. Again, Revolut, I'm less worried about from competition perspective.
And Hannah, of course, is the Chief Risk Officer from Monzo, who is speaking here in the event today as well. Okay, good.
Yeah, no, in the interest of time, I mean, we've got this issue. We keep getting these fantastic guests come to talk to us, and all we want to do is just keep talking and exploring further. But we need to keep it to short segments. So maybe we can get you to come back and join us on a full episode at some point in time of Fintech Daydreaming. But is there anything that you would have liked to have said that we maybe didn't cover very quickly?
I mean, probably not, except, I think there's a lot of hype also going on in the banking, and that's why we've chosen the strategy we've chosen, right? That we still need to be making sure that we are, to today's theme, for resilient, right? Yes. And that's why we have chosen the strategy we've chosen, to making sure that we have our direct proposal and we're building the sort of indirect proposals. So I think the resiliency is a good theme for it. That's where I have to start out then.
I think it's wonderful. I have a tendency of, when I'm presenting, to say that the Nordic banks have become arrogant and stagnant. It's good to see challenger banks, even from within our region, trying to rattle the cage a little bit. So fantastic, good job, keep going.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you might have noticed that we've changed the backdrop here a little bit. In actual fact, we had finished for the day, so you will get to see the wrap-up by Ville and myself after this, where we talk about going and drinking champagne and everything else. But as we were walking through the corridors, having closed everything up and decided that we were done, we bumped into someone that we absolutely had to talk to, because we have had banks with us today. Banks. We managed to stay away from the vendors. No disregard to the vendors. Vendors bring a lot of value in the banking world, but we decided banks were where we wanted to go today. And not only just banks, we spoke to executives, bank executives. Well, where can you go to go one step up from the banks? Well, that would be the master of the banks, the one that basically controls everything. If you don't behave as a bank, you might have some trouble, right? Yes. So, for those out there who don't recognize your face, well, I mean, we've got some listeners that are listening, they're out having their morning jog, whatever, and then they don't see your face, but it's a great face to see. Who are you?
Yeah, my name is Aleksi Grym. I'm head of the Fintech division at the Bank of Finland, which is the Central Bank of Finland, part of the Eurosystem.
Exactly, Central Bank of England, the bank of the banks that's looking after the banks. I mean, you've got the master switch, right? The red button.
Yeah. Well, we have accounts and we have banks as customers, so yeah.
You do indeed. But you said head of fintech, so
that's right.
So what does that entail from the central bank's perspective?
From the central bank's perspective, one big chunk of it is payment systems. So we obviously, as a bank, two banks, we operate payment systems, but we also develop payment systems and we oversee payment systems of the whole economy. So my colleague is in charge of overseeing the existing payment systems. My job is to help develop future payment systems. And apart from that, obviously there's lots happening in fintech apart from payment systems, so we also do that. So we work with the fintech ecosystem in Finland to try to have new companies in the industry and so on.
Now you actually got me really excited because you said future of payments. So the banks are scratching their heads and panicking about instant payment, request to pay and everything else. So what is the future of payments? I mean, what is the secret that you're going to dump on the banks next?
Wow, huge question. I mean, one thing that's happening, obviously, payments are becoming faster.
Yes.
Payment systems are becoming more connected, more interoperable, so it's easier to move money from anywhere to anywhere, pretty much. It comes with the downside. The flip side of the coin is what we're seeing actually right now, which is a very big topic, which is not a nice topic, but it's fraud, and it's all the problems that come with more speed and instant payments. So we kind of try to fix both the opportunities but also the risks at the same time.
Yeah. Now, so for some of you listeners who might not know, but Aleksi is actually a bit of an icon here in the Nordics, especially if you work around the digital currency space. And there's many reasons for that, but especially one reason, which is my favorite. You wrote a paper about the first central bank digital currency that we had here in the Nordics called Avant Cash, and then you were comparing that to the ongoing activities around the digital euro. So I guess now that I have you here with me, I mean, when you wrote that paper, did people realize that the first central bank digital currency was actually from Finland? And what did we learn from that?
Yeah, short answer, no, they did not realize it. And when I wrote that paper, so first of all, in case people don't know, so we're in the 1990s, you had lots of companies around Europe developing these prepaid payment cards. And one of those products was developed by the central bank, by Finland. And as far as I know, Finland was the only place where it was the central bank who actually developed it. Everywhere else, it was a commercial entity. So, and in Finland, the Bank of Finland actually set up this company and developed this product, and they later spun it off, sold it to a consortium of commercial banks. But it was a proper payment card. It was actually in production. There were almost 1 million cards throughout Finland at its peak. But it was, of course, not described as a central bank digital currency or a central bank digital money or anything like that.
Yeah, we never knew marketing in Finland, now did we? So.
Yeah. So a few years ago, this topic of CBDC came up, and I went to some seminars, meeting other central banks, and I gave this presentation where I said, we've developed the world, and by this time it was only a theoretical concept. And I said, we actually already have this. We developed it. It's in production, and that was my first slide in the presentation. And then everyone was really surprised, like, wow, did you already develop it yet? I said, yes, in 1993.
And we already shut it down, too.
Yeah. Not only did we develop it, we've already shut it down.
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. What's next?
Yeah. So then, of course, the interesting discussion after that is that how much is this similar to what we're discussing now? Is CBDC really the same thing as these e-money products? And electronic money basically kind of came out of that. So after that, you had e-money legislation in Europe, you had e-money institutions coming. So electronic money was basically what was invented back then. And now I think I'm still asking this question in many seminars is, what's the difference between e-money and CBDC? Is there any meaningful difference? And I'll leave it maybe for another time to go deeper into that. But that's, I think, the interesting question.
We're definitely going to go deeper into it. Not now. We'll have you back on a full episode. I think that would be great. Because one of the things that we get into discussions a lot on the podcast is around the growth of the digital euro. Mm-hmm. And everybody is starting to realize this is not a question of if, it's a question of when. I mean, it's going to happen. But when you step out onto the street and you talk to people, and to a certain degree also, maybe in the banking community as well, there's this perceived fear that if the digital euro comes in, the European Central Bank will see every transaction I make, they will see exactly what I'm paying for, and even more importantly, they can close my account, they can freeze all of my transactions on the spot, and therefore I am being governed almost in an Orwellian world. I mean, that's nothing new, is it?
It's nothing new. I think that's all of those concerns I can completely understand, first of all. But I think those are more related to things becoming digital anyway. So the data is already in someone's hands, and your data is already being used in different places. And of course, it requires legislation and governance on how that data is used. I don't think the digital euro CBDC is going to really change any of that. I mean, that is already an important issue, but I don't think it's really related to digital euro CBDC. There's no more risks coming out of those.
I think we sort of partially agree with that.
Yes, I'm biased, of course, working in this space. But yes, I completely agree.
Okay. Well, it's been a fantastically good discussion. We've got short snippets, and like all of these discussions, we desperately want to go into more detail and open up more, and love to have you back on the podcast for a full episode. I mean, it's not often we get to talk to the central banks, right? So until next time, it's been fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So here we are.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we made it all the way to the end.
And only executives.
Only executives.
And only banks.
Only banks, indeed. And this is a rare episode, especially for this montage kind of things that we do at these events. I mean, we never get this high level participants.
We don't.
And also high quality conversations. So we started off with Citibank, the keynote speaker for the agentic AI thing that he wanted to talk about. Ended up having a very nice long conversation with him, and then it only got more and more interesting because we got all the CEOs of the banks, not to say the least, of course, the CEO of S-Bank, of course, a huge entity here in Finland where we are recording today.
I actually think one of the cool things for me, like I said to you over lunch, is appreciating the visibility we have as Fintech Daydreaming, because going up to these CEOs, I went up with the expectation of, we are Fintech Daydreaming, can we talk to you? And them saying, who? Go away. But they also love your podcast. Absolutely. Come and let's go. Let's have a chat.
Yeah.
You know, it's It's wonderful.
Indeed. The only exceptions that we got was from some of the not Nordic banks, and we wanted to get them on the podcast. Turns out they have very strict policies about where and when they can speak, so they have to have all sorts of approvals in place. So unfortunately, that type of almost like a spur of the moment interviews don't happen with these other banks from outside the Nordics. But we will see. We got a soft kind of let's talk about this maybe in the future. So we might have some interesting guests in the future.
It shows corporate governance between the Nordic banks and the other European banks.
Indeed.
Right.
So surprisingly, the Nordic banks are quite easy going when it comes to these communication policies. So yeah, that's true.
But it's been good. It's been another fantastic event. Good conversations, good presentations. I mean, Nordic Fintech, Helsinki Fintech Farm do fantastically good events, so it's been good. And the course subject has been a refreshing experience for me, because after so many weeks of hearing non-stop about... You're not going to hit me when I say this, are you?
I'm no promises made.
Stablecoin.
Oh my God.
Stablecoin.
Stablecoins.
No more stablecoin. AI was actually a relief to hear people talking about AI, agentic AI, and although that's been a big bubble that we're all drowning in, it was actually nice not to hear stablecoin.
We almost made it to the end without mentioning the word, so I'm very happy for that. But yeah, again, it's actually not only AI. It was really about the fraud prevention, the resilience angle, so using AI for things that actually matter.
Yes.
So I think it's refreshing to not have people just hyping about chatbots and ChatGPT on the stage, but rather talking about how can we actually make the banks better, safer, faster. With AI, with actual concrete use cases. I mean, not all of it was concrete. Of course, there's always some hype in between, but still, I think the direction of travel is correct, at least. So we are really talking about the actual topics rather than just technology. And yes, on the topic of stablecoins, all of us are quite tired of that topic, and I'm genuinely happy that there was nothing in the agenda, nothing on the stage talking specifically about those things. Of course, it got mentioned a few times, but again, it was never the driving factor in the conversations that we had here today. No. So yeah, happy. I mean, if this is if any kind of a prediction of how 26 will be, I'm a much happier person in 26 than in 25.
But hey, I understand. End of the day, end of the conference, there's champagne waiting upstairs for everybody. So I think we need to go and have a glass of champagne and celebrate another fantastic episode at the end.
I think we have deserved it, yes.
I think we have deserved it. And to our fantastic listeners and viewers out there, depending upon whether you're watching us or listening to us, or maybe doing both, it has been great that you've stuck with us for all of this, and hope you've really enjoyed all of the discussions. As always, please like, subscribe if you're still with us. If you want to do us one small... I seem to have something on my finger. If you want to do us one small favour... I have no idea what that was. If you want to do us one small favour... It was a black thread from the chair here. If you want to do us one small favour, can I get this out? Please... share the podcast with at least one of your friends or one of your colleagues so that we can continue growing. But Ville, any last final words?
First of all, congratulations, anybody listening on the audio channel, getting through what just happened here. So again, thank you for staying here and listening to us. But we do have one thing that we always have to do. It's the joke. Nobody made an actual joke on this episode, so we have to do it.
You're right. You're right.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think I have one ready to go.
So do I. But
okay. So which one goes?
You go first.
Okay. So
let's do it.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
I win.
You win.
Okay. So I get to go.
Yeah.
So what is the favorite George Michael song of Fintech Nerd?
Wake Me Up Before You Go Go? Oh, no, that was Wham. But close enough. I mean, George Michael,
No,
Wham.
that's
I have no idea.
It is Chorless Whisper.
And with that, we're out. Goodbye.
And we're done.
Thank you very much for, did you just... Thank you very much for listening to us. This has been Fintech Daydreaming.
This is Fintech Daydreaming.